Good day, folks. It's Tyson with you, and today, instead of being in the downstairs workshop, we are in the upstairs music room? Adult fun zone? I don't know what you would want to call it, but I am looking at this piano behind me, and we're going to talk about some music today, a little bit of math, some patterns, all kinds of cool stuff. So we can have some fun, we can learn at the same time. And first, we're going to explore this piano a little bit. So we've got different parts of it here. This is called the keyboard, and each individual piece here is called a key. You'll notice we have some white keys, we have some black keys, and they make slightly different sounds. The other thing you'll see is this company name here, Doherty, Clinton, Canada. So we know that Canada is a country. I'm surprised that there's a big gap here. I don't know why that's there. And then we have Clinton. So I wonder what that means. The first thing that I want to show you is what's actually inside here. I'm not going to show you the best part yet, but we're going to start out looking at this little thing. So this is a really old inscription. You can see the texture. This is kind of cracked, and that's called alligatoring. That happens after a long time. And we've got this nice note. This is to certify that this piano was manufactured by us from the very best and thoroughly seasoned material. We guarantee the same for a period of 10 years. So this must be a pirate piano. And then they go on to tell us a bit more information. And we see here, this is from W. Doherty and Co., Clinton, Ontario. So this was actually made in Canada, which is pretty cool. And I've got a bit more information for you about that later. Yikes! But for now, let's get down to this keyboard and let's do a little learning, make a little music. All right, friends, so the first thing I'm going to tell you is actually this is the second time I'm recording this video. I started recording it and I was having such a great time, and then my phone cut out, and wouldn't you believe it, it got lost. So I was so disappointed, but you know, sometimes that happens. Takes a little bit longer, but I'm having fun. So second time around, maybe it'll be even better. Let's see. What we're going to look at first is all of these letters that you see on the keyboard here. So I've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then I have it over again. Now, you might not know this, but music uses letters of the alphabet to talk about the notes, but there are a lot of numbers involved in music too. So first of all, let's count how many letters we've got here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we start over again at A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got 7 notes, and there's one word that is really important in music, and I'll write it out for you here. That word is octave. So octave, that's our first word of the day, and it's related to math, and I'm going to see if you can figure out what it might mean. We have this part of the word that's starting it. It's called a prefix, but it's oct. So is that something that you've seen anywhere else in math or in the world around you? You know, you might know an animal that has that in its name, octopus. Or you might know a shape that has a name like that, octagon. So how many legs does an octopus have? And how many sides does an octagon have? A stop sign, for example, is an octagon, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, you'll notice in a different video with the pattern blocks, I was making a hexagon, and I actually said it had 5 sides. So whoops, sorry. But this is an octagon. It's got 8 sides. So when we're talking about something that's got oct, we're talking about 8. So we said we only have 7 letters or 7 keys here, though. The reason that we're talking about octaves is because in music, we start on one note and we end on the same note that's at the top of the scale. So we have the first note and the eighth note. Those are the same note, but they're different pitches. And this higher one is 1 octave higher than this one. So when we put all of these notes together, we end up making what's called a scale. The C scale is probably the simplest one in music, and it's the easiest to understand on piano because we don't need to use any of these black keys. Those are called sharps or flats, depending on which way we're using them. So let's check it out. Let's play through an octave, and let's hear that C scale. There we go. So remember, those are the same note, but 1 octave higher. We can play it going down too. Hey, look at that. Okay, so, I mentioned these black keys, and the C scale doesn't use any of those black keys. We're going to talk about why that happens. So, if we look from C to D, that's one note or one tone. So we can say that, a tone. And the black key here is something that's called a semitone. So we got another prefix here, a semitone. Have you ever heard this word before or seen it anywhere? Semi? Think about what that might mean. We have a whole tone and a semitone. What semi usually means, maybe you've seen a semi-truck. There are usually 2 parts to a semi-truck. What else can I think of? I can't think of other examples with semi. But what semi means is that it's a part, or in this case, semi means that it's a half. So going from C to D is a whole tone or a whole step, and going from C to C sharp, that's called a half step or a semitone. Sounds kind of creepy, a little bit scary, hey? So we've got some big time math going in here already. We've got octaves, a group of 8. We have semitones, which is a half tone, or sometimes called a half step. I'll write that down for you too. And now we're actually going to talk about another one. We've got more math going on in here. So the next one I want to talk about is what's called Can you try saying that word? That one is a triad. And I'm underlining another thing here. We've got oct, semi, and we have now a triad. So can you think of anything that starts with try? And I'm not talking about trying your best. What about a tricycle? Or here's another one. Triangle. That's another good one. So what do you think it means when we're talking about a triad? That means we're talking about a group of 3 notes. So when we're talking about an octave, a scale, that's 8 notes. Okay, or we can talk about a triad. And when we're using that C scale, we can play a nice, easy one here. 1, 2, 3 notes. Pretty cool, hey? Now, notice, this looks pretty awkward, but notice which notes I'm playing here. I'm playing 3 notes, but I'm not playing 3 notes in a row. That might not sound as good. Yikes. But what we can do is we can count which notes we're playing, the number position of the note. So this is 1, and then we're going to skip 2. We're going to play the 3rd note. We're going to skip the 4th one, and we're going to play the 5th note. So in this triad here, we are playing the 1st, 3rd, and 5th notes. That's pretty cool, hey? So this is also like, not a magic number, but a magic sequence of numbers in music. So we can play 1, 3, 5. We can play G is another good one. 1, 3, 5. Ooh, nice. Now, check this out. We've got 1, 3, 5 right there. That's pretty cool. What if we try to move that up? Let's see how it sounds. It sounds a little bit different, doesn't it? Well, the reason why it sounds different is this is called a major chord. And this one is called a minor chord. Now, this is related to this idea of semitones or half steps. So I'm going to show you how we can play a D major chord. We're going to move this F up to what's called an F sharp. That sounds better. That's a major chord. So we have C major. We have D major. Ooh. And then we have D minor we talked about. So one thing that you can think about or that you can investigate is, why are we using the black key in that D major, but there are no black keys in the C major? Something to think about. It's all about this whole tone, half tone situation. So that's one that you can figure out. Now, I've got a few more things that I want to share with you, and one of them might be something that can be useful if you like to play piano, or if you like to play instruments and make music, or even just singing a song. This is something that is not 1, 3, 5 like a chord, but this is 1, 4, 5. So I just made this morning, just had this brainstorm, and there's something pretty neat. In a lot of rock and roll music, in a lot of blues music, if you know that kind of music, and probably even if you look at a lot of like pop music, modern day pop music, they use this kind of pattern of 1, 4, 5. Now, it's not always in that same order. Sometimes it might go 5, 1, 4, 1, or it might go 1, 4, 1, 5, but this is like a magic number pattern in music. It's going to be pretty cool. So I have some songs to share with you. I'm not sure if you'll know all of them, but we're going to see what we get here. So this is a song called Splish Splash. This is back from like the 1950s. So your parents or even like your grandparents might know this song. So we've got C, G7, which is kind of a special chord, C, and F. C, G7, C, and then we've got C and F. Okay, so how does that translate with our little guide here? C, F, and G. Okay, so those are going to be important notes for us. Let's give it a try here. And I hope that you don't mind my singing, and I hope that I don't break any windows in your house by accident here. But here we go. Splish, splash, I was taking a bath. all about a Saturday night. Rub-dub, just relaxing in the tub, thinking everything was alright. Well, I stepped out the tub, put my feet on the floor. I wrapped a towel around me and I opened the door. And then a splish splash, I jumped back in the bath. Well, how was I to know there was a party going on? Okay, so that's one for the grandparents in the audience. You kids might not know that one, but let's check out another one. A little bit newer, but maybe still a little bit old for my crowd here. This one is called Brown-Eyed Girl. So we've got G, C, G, D in there. Okay. Now, we're going to have to move our little pattern marker here so that we can start on a G. And let's see how we go here. Hey, where did we go? Days when the rains came down in the hollow, playing a new game, laughing and a running, hey, hey, skipping and a jumping in the misty morning fog. Oh, our hearts are thumping, and you, my brown-eyed girl, you, my brown-eyed girl. Hey, not bad. So again, we're using 1, 4, 5. Cool. Now I think there was one more I have to show you. Oh, two more. Okay. This one is, oh, not Mr. Grinch. That's a Christmas one. Oh, where the heck did it go now? Ha! Oh, here we go. Okay, Wagon Wheel. So this one is my guess, probably the most likely that you know this one. There's an older version by a group called Old Crow Medicine Show. You might know a newer version by Darius Rucker, but here's another one. G, D, we've got an E minor slipped in there, and a C. Let's see how this one goes. We're already set up, G, C, and D, and we're gonna slip up to our E minor there just to keep things interesting. So let's see how we go here. Headed down south to the land of the pines, I'm thumbing my way down to North Carolina. Staring at the road, I pray to God I see headlights. Made it down the coast in 17 hours, picking me a bouquet of dogwood flowers, and I'm hoping for Ollie I can see my baby tonight. Ooh, not bad. Okay, the last one for those parents out there who like the 80s and the 90s hair metal. Same chords here, G, C, and D. Every rose has its thorn, just like every night has its dawn. Just like every cowboy sings a sad, sad song. Every rose has its thorn. There you go. So you can make a little device like this and learn to play piano or some pretty simple songs pretty quickly. So we've got 1, 4, 5, 1, 3, 5. We've got triads, semitones, octaves. And you know what I think might be pretty neat is if you can go online, you can actually find chords like this. A website I use is called ultimateguitartabs.com. And you can actually find chords. You can look for patterns too, and you can even see if this 1, 4, 5 business works. And you don't need a keyboard in order to do that. If you want, you can just write out on a page of paper, you can write A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you can circle them, figure it out if you see a pattern in there. I want to show you one more thing about the workings of this piano. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the keys. I'm going to pause this so I can get in there nice and tight, and we'll give you the last few minutes of this episode. So we're back in business here, back looking at the keyboard more closely, and I wanted to show you a little bit about the keys. So you can see that these are chipped off here. You can see that the covering on these ones have come off, and that's because the age of this piano, it's amazing. So there are two different materials on the keyboard, ebony and ivory. And believe it or not, that's actually a song, the name of a song too. But these black keys are ebony, which is a type of wood, really hard, really dark colored wood. And then these keys, the white keys, are ivory. And do you know where ivory comes from? It's actually from tusks or horns of different animals. So rhino has an ivory horn, I believe. Elephant has an ivory, or not, a pair of ivory tusks. And so, you know, it's a really beautiful material, but we can't keep killing animals just to make pianos or to make sculptures or things like that. So one thing to think about when you're buying a toy or an instrument or something like that is thinking about where it comes from, what it's made with, and you know, is that a good choice? Because we got to take care of the planet, right? So this one is super old, and we're going to talk about that. I'm going to pop you up inside here, shed some light on the situation. So we've got some cool keys in here. Oh, actually, I'm going to show you this first. This number in here. So we know that this came from Ontario in Canada. And let's check out the place value. We've got 0 ones, 0 tens, 2 100s, and 2 thousands. So how can we say that number? It's 2,200. Nice. So I actually checked this out online, and pianos from this company with that serial number, this piano was probably made between 1911 and 1917. So that's pretty crazy, because if we do some mental math, that means that this piano is over 100 years old. Unbelievable. You know, could use a tuning, but other than that, it sounds pretty good still. So last thing I want to show you, and maybe the coolest thing, oh, if I can stabilize myself here, is these things and how they actually work. So if you look closely, maybe you can see better here that these are actually groups of 3 strings. So it's 3 strings that are making each note, and these things here mute the notes when they're not being played, because if you think about how sound works, when those notes are happening in here, all that sound is pushing all that air around, and it might make these strings vibrate when we don't want them vibrating. So these guys mute the strings so they don't make sounds when we don't want them to, and these guys come and hit these. So let's check this out. Whoa! Happens pretty fast, but you saw this one come and hit those strings, and you see this guy lifting up so that it's not holding them down, so that those strings can actually ring. So that's a G note. That's 1 key. Let's play 3 keys at the same time. Let's play a triad. So this is the C note, the E note, and the G note. Let's try a D minor. Ooh. Pretty cool. Okay. So, you know what? I think that's all that I wanted to share with you today. Let me just check my little list here. Yep, that's it. So I hope you enjoyed our time together. I had a great time. I love making music. I've tried to make it so that you can make comments in the videos. So make some comments if you have questions. If you know how that semitone tone stuff works with major and minor chords, you could write about that. If you want to hear about something else music related, let me know and I will do my best to fill you in. Hope you had a great time. I sure did, and we will see you next time.